I think the biggest mistake is not operationalizing compliance. A lot of cases, compliance is reactive or it's deadline driven. I know I have an EO1 report, it's not due till September, I'll get it at that point. And the reason they're most vulnerable to risk because HR has a lot to do. They have to deal with employee things in day to day. They don't really have the time to pay attention. And I'm pretty much the voice of HR at my company.
You got to understand the business behind the business, right?
It's AI and the regulatory uncertainty, right? The whip players coming in from Washington.
Oh my gosh.
And not quite being sure like when to make a move. It's almost like playing double dutch. AI was good for anything, it's that, right? If you continue to have it and create like an agent, that kind of sweeps all of the different sources and lets you know like when something may be pending or something is inevitable. Your compliance needs to be baked in to your day-to-day operations. It shouldn't be an afterthought.
All right, we're recording on the camera. We're recording down on the soundboard. Amy, William,
All right.
where shall we start?
I'm going to ask a little bit about Outsolved, just to give me, because I'm not familiar with Outsolved.
Let's start there.
I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself first, because I know it's a little bit about myself first because I know it's a little. I am Chief Marketing Officer, but I have been in the HR space for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So there's probably not one angle or element or process that I'm not aware of. But Outsolve is an HR compliance as a service company. You specialize in I-9s, label out posters, federal reporting, and compensation.
So tell me, so Chief Marketing Office, how does that connect to your experience with HR? Give me the connect.
So here's the connection. It is pretty much my job to understand like all of the different trends, best practices, regulatory changes, how the regulatory changes impact HR. And I'm pretty much the voice of HR at my company.
You got to understand the business behind the business, right?
Well, and go further into that, you got to understand what makes our HR tick. So what are they reading? What are they listening to? Where are they going? All that stuff. As a marketer, you got to know everything about them, which means you got to kind of get into their world.
Right. And what makes them tick in their pain points? Like, what are their challenges? I know you've been in that HR solution space for a long time, and oftentimes we can live in a bubble and we come up with these solutions. There's not one HR person in the room.
That's right.
And that's where I come in.
So what does make HR tick that you found? What are some of the trends that you're seeing?
I think some of the trends, obviously, AI, you can't, go anywhere these days.
It's a drinking game at this point.
Is literally we should have like every time it said like, okay.
So right. I mean, you can't, it's AI and the regulatory uncertainty, right? The whip players coming in from Washington.
Oh my gosh.
And not quite being sure like when to make a move. It's almost like playing double dutch. Okay, executive order came back out. All right, we think we know what to do. And then another one comes out. Yeah. So
And every state's going through its own part of that.
yeah.
So federal and state.
So help me understand what you guys maybe do from the perspective of, and I found this in HR being a challenge for years, and especially as a company that offers HR services, right? So we're finding out the same time as clients are finding out what that regulatory item is, and they're coming right to us saying, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
So how do you, or what have you seen happen that allows you to stay ahead of the game or answer those questions or, just get ready for what's happening in the cycle?
Yeah, so the way in which we're structured, first of all, we've been in regulations since 1998. So we've been in it for a long time. And so internally, we are set up so that we're very agile. So we have a team that one keeps the edge of the brown. And so they're looking at different movements and different developments and kind of making predictions. And so, we are pretty much poised to be able to jump in, and we've turned around pretty much all the solutions I can think of within a 30-day time frame. That's fantastic. So if you think of Executive Order 11246, like we already know what happened to the women and minorities plans for affirmative action. And so we had to, I'll call all of our clients, make them aware of what was going on, make sure they understood they still had to do Section 503 in VEBRA. We had to also change our systems internally as well to make sure that, we were adapting to what was coming. You had the strip down of all of the DEI and what the impact of that meant. We also sold those solutions as well. And so we did say, obviously, take everything away and just said there has to be an adjustment. So let's get on a call, let's get on the phone. We called our clients and we had our consultants get on them and have one-on-one conversations so that we could at least talk to them about what was going on in their environment. Right. Yeah.
I think there's a great use of AI too, because AI can keep up with those things. When they're just becoming discussions or small groups are for read or it's in committee. But it's like, okay, we can kind of see it as it's going through other sausages being made. And then once it becomes law or once it becomes something that becomes
Things we need to prepare for.
Right.
Or just keep this as a twinkle in our eye right now so we can.
That's right.
Yep.
That way we're not blindsided. Our clients aren't blindsided. We're not blindsided, etc.
Right. Yeah. I mean, AI, well, if AI was good for anything, it's that, right? If you continue to have it and create like an agent that kind of sweeps all of the different sources and lets you know like when something may be pending or something is inevitable. And that's a good use of AI as well.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Now, if I think about the perspective of any type of compliance, is there any type of compliance that you have seen recently or in the last year that has been the biggest pain point for your clients? Things that are like, if you're not doing this, you're behind the times, or you're making mistakes and you need to be, fixing it now. Yeah, ignoring things,
I think the biggest mistake is not operationalizing compliance. A lot of cases, compliance is reactive or it's deadline driven. I know I have an EEO1 report. It's not due till September. I'll get it at that point.
Do we have the 2026 date for EEO yet?
We have the 26th date. Well, the point would be, is it going to be
around
next year?
You don't want to look at it. That's when I can start auditing and have to look at it and say you don't want to look at it.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing that we're saying is that, this is not, your compliance needs to be baked in to your day-to-day operation. Right. It shouldn't be an afterthought. Absolutely.
Who owns compliance?
Wow, that's a good question.
I'm going to go ahead and throw up a softball that is the softball.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the size of the company.
Truth.
Yeah.
Any industry. If it's a regulated industry, it's a bit different than an underregulated.
Yeah, it depends. You deal with a lot of like mid-market or mid-sized companies, in which case it falls in the lap of HR, right? And there's a lot of, so when I say HR compliance as a service, we pretty much specialize in those areas of HR that are most vulnerable to risk.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the reason they're most vulnerable to risk because HR has a lot to do. They have to deal with employees in day-to-day. They don't really have the time to pay attention. I mean, we all know that if you look at the kind of personnel decisions that happen on a regular basis, the hiring, the promotions, no one ever takes a minute to stop, do the analysis and say, okay, is this creating any sort of discriminatory practices? Is it creating an issue for the company? And so, just on a regular cadence, stop, take a look at it, analyze it, make sure it's not creating risk for you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I got one last. If you have any.
No, you go for it.
So I don't want to make something up that's not there, but is there a relationship between compliance and fraud?
I don't think so. Well, not as it relates to, I think, B2B and business. I don't necessarily think so.
Because you mentioned risk. Whenever I hear risk, I'm like, fraud. Now, that's just my brain.
I can tell you a risk, right? Right now, we know that like immigration is under the microscope, especially when it comes to employment. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you're on your Form I-9s. You want to make sure you're, dotting your I's and
not just that they're filled out, but
right.
that they're accurate.
They're accurate.
Right.
You have to. So when you talk about risk, that's what
you talk about the risk and the fines and those things.
That's really important. And rushing through things, not paying attention, not, like I said, coming out with sound. It's like an effective processes and procedures. So where a company like Outsolve would come in is that we'll take all that stuff off of your plate and we'll pay attention to it because you can't, right? So, but there's tons of risk. People are just dealing with what's in front of them at the time.
It's so reactive. And this is a way to get in front of it. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.